those things you just mentioned, which my question was the tips for people wanting to buy a property, and we can look at it in two lenses because I think there are the two lenses. There's the investor side and there's the owner-occupied side. But all those things you just mentioned are not, and it speaks to your expertise in the area, but aren't typically the things that people think about when they're buying property.
They might say, I want the shiny renovation.
That does it look nice?
Yep.
How's it going to look on my Instagram feed?
Yep.
Schools, obviously,
schools
things like that.
Yeah.
That's a big one,
Yep.
which people do think about to a point. But again, we've put our investor hat on. Those things that you just mentioned there, like the rentability, like the
is it above average land size for that particular area? Are you superior to what your neighbours are? Are you an inferior size block for your locale? All those kind of little things that don't sound like I'm, creating, Einstein level ideas with. It's just very much basics. And I remember the first interview I had in a room like this with my director, business partner Byron. He asked, you've done some leasing, okay? When you go out to a rental and you're leasing it, if you were going to look for a good rental property, what would you look for? And I'm sitting there going, what the fuck has he just asked me? What am I looking for? And as you said, I'm like, nice kitchen and bathrooms, just clean and tidy, all these things. He's like, what about aspect? Do you want good natural light? Are you elevated above street level? Are you away from traffic noise? And all these little boxes that are now second nature to whenever I look at a property. I mean, I skim through a real estate ad and I can say within a matter of seconds, don't inspect it, let's inspect it, looking at the just basic fundamentals of it.
Yeah.
And it's not rocket science.
And what would you say if we had to pick a handful? What are those fundamentals when you look at a property?
Location, of course, first and foremost. You've got your A-grade locations, which are basically beachfront, waterfront, close to all the good stuff. Access to amenity, as I said. It doesn't matter if you're a teenager looking for your first rental property or your first home as a 20-something-year-old, or you're a downsizer. If you've got a nice level walk to shops, retail, commercial, medical, pharmacy, all those things, public transport, you're widening your potential tenant pool, you're widening your potential buyer pool. If you ever need to divest out of that asset, do you have a wide-ranging market? Like right now, if you've got a property that's quirky, different, doesn't suit everyone, tough time to sell. If you've got an asset like the Palm Beach one that's close to everything, north to rear aspect, it's going to do well in any market. And so it's just those really basic fundamental things, whether it be investment or owner-occupiers. And sometimes as an owner-occupier, you almost have to realise, hey, treat this like an investment asset to a degree. Yep. If it's your forever home and it's your family, get the quirky stuff you like. But if it's something where it might be a 5 to 10 year vessel or a stepping stone into your next acquisition, you better make sure it's something that's going to, as I said, keep up with or outpace the market for your capital growth prospects, but also be something you can divest out of when the time comes. You might be forced to do so. The financial pinch might be hitting. We need to sell. And so just, long old circle back, but very basic fundamental stuff of ticking all those boxes for either future renters of that investment or future buyers of your asset. What are they going to want? Pretty simple stuff. So
typically when people first come to talk to me, properties usually a number one goal that if people don't own a property, it's I want to buy one. If they already own one, it's how can we renovate it, how can we buy more? Yep. It's typically what we talk about. Yep. The leading driver of that, their fundamentals is price.
Yes.
Location, to a point, but it's product. Gold Coast, I want the Gold Coast, typically Southern Gold Coast or something not too far north, and then it's price.
And then they want to feel good about the price, or
that's the lens we look through of how much, like what can I buy?
And I guess
not
where
not
should
all
I
those
buy?
Not all those things that you just thought about, and then that's with the education that we have limited, and then if we need to obviously put them in touch with people like you, but it's just going through those steps of okay, well, they said hold how long we plan on having it for,
and I guess like you said, two very different lenses. They might come to you and say, Ross, we've just achieved a loan for investment reasons, or it's time to go buy our primary residence. As you said, they might get, let's just say they get $1 million granted as a an amount they can feasibly go and spend. They might say, let's open the search up to all these areas and find the nicest house we can find for our money. So we feel good about living there, social, Instagrammable, friends, keeping up with the Joneses stuff, unfortunately a little bit materialistic in ways. That's typically what they go for. Oh, wow, that's got a nice little bathroom. Oh, look, it is on a sloping south-facing block with, some not so good natural things around it, but God, the kitchen's nice. Let's go for that one, rather than, look, doesn't have all the bedrooms we might want or might not be renovated to the standard that we typically would be after, but God, that's close to all the good stuff, and God, I can see, some good potential there. So different, and then the investors may be similar, but they should be, to a degree, numbers focused.
Well, that's part of the job that we go through, is that being the financial planners, we like to plan ahead and be like, that's great, want to buy a property now. As you said, what is this, 5 years, 10 years? What does that look like? Just talk to me. Okay, I want to buy this. It's like, Are we looking at having kids in the future that we might need to then sell?
Stuff we've just gone through the last
all that
18
kind of
months
stuff
ourselves,
that people just like go to the bank. Typically, then if they don't come through me or don't go to you first, it's they go to a mortgage broker or go to the bank. I prefer they go to a mortgage broker, but they go to the bank. The bank said I could borrow $1 million. Cool. Next weekend they're out. They're on realestate.com that night trying
Set
to find
the searches up.
find a property, $1 million.
Yeah.
It's like that's it. Like we need to think. Just again, it's the biggest asset you're likely ever going to purchase.
Yep.
Just have some thought. Ideally,
50% property, 50% therapy, but also just the psychology of it. You know, I'm talking to my in-laws about it now. They've sold out of an apartment. They've travelled for a while. Time to find the next home, which could be a long-term hold and maybe a bit of a downsizer type property. Do you go for the biggest, grandest property you can get with the amount you want to spend that might be in a location that's not quite suitable, or do you get a inferior asset type but be in the spot that you want to be? So there's all these different drivers, all these things pulling at you, and seeing someone like you or dealing with, just internal discussions as a couple or, as a family, whoever you're dealing with, you have to flesh those things out and then go and make the decision. It's not just a matter of, I've got $1 million, let's go spend $1 million on the nicest thing we can find. It's just, what are you trying to achieve? How are we going to do it?
Yeah, correct.